Good evening. One first item on the agenda that we have to select officer, so I'm going to turn it over to Jim. Please.
The order, the first order of business is that we are going to be voting by secret ballot for your chairman. We didn't see it here. If you want to put those in half, you could, because then we can do the vice chairman on the other piece of paper. We will be turkey vice. I'm going to take your ballots first for chairman. Right, unanimously, you are chairman. You're going to have the vote now for vice. And Dan, you are our vice chairman.
Congratulations, Bob.
You're ready?
Go ahead and start. The first item on the agenda, consider approving the minutes held from December 16th.
I make a motion we approve the December 16th minutes.
Second by Don, all in favor? Next one is to vote accepting a drug forfeiture for the Maine state of Maine.
This is another good job by the Oakland Police Department and partners. This total forfeiture was State of Maine versus Henry Rapp and Paul Trask. Total forfeiture was over $6,000. Oakland shares $2,064.32. And if you're willing to accept that, I'd like to have a motion and a vote.
Motion is made by Don, seconded by Dana, all in favor? Discuss paying Central Maine Growth Council the remainder bill for 2020.
Okay, I'm going to start this conversation off. I provided you with a contract that's between Central Maine Growth Council and the town of Oakland. As everybody knows, last year, coming into the COVID situation and our budget, there was a lot of unknowns. So I made a recommendation that we reach out to all of our third-party requests and people that we're doing business with and ask them for a reduction in the rates, so because we didn't know what was going to happen. I talked to Kim. She graciously accepted the fact that and gave us a reduction in that. As we know, things have changed. Some of the decisions that we made have made a big difference on our budget, and I think at this point in time, we should be honoring the contract and give them the full amount. And no reason why we can't do that. We put the money in. We actually have Darvin and Kim and their new staff member here to answer any questions you may have on it. They've provided good service for us. They're our economic development arm. Comprehensive plan that they facilitated. It's beautiful. It's a good job. A lot of hours involved in it. Working on the broadband committee, another good job. I mean, that's not a done project. It's slowed up because of COVID. Everything's kind of come to a halt. But I would make a recommendation that we pay him what we owe him and make this contract full.
Don?
Just a clarification question in regards to some other funds that we perhaps didn't pay. I think it's good that we would reach out and pay them, and I just want to see if there are other groups out there that we haven't given all their funds or any of their funds to, or any other contracts that we may have that we should also be considering.
So we've had two contractual situations, one with the Dams Committee and the other one with the Central Maine Growth Council. The rest of them weren't contractual. They're third-party requests.
But even though they're not contractual, what's the dollar value of?
I haven't figured out as far as the total, but you have a lot of nonprofits that we cut our nonprofits out. We've taken a percentage of a lot of our lake organizations because we spread the potential pain around with everybody, including our town employees. I mean, everybody kind of paid the piper on this one. So, I mean, as far as giving you a total dollar value, I don't have that in front of me, Don.
Again, I guess I'd like to, in the near future, just look at some of those things, because we've tried to make a good effort to take care of a lot of different groups in different ways. And we've got the third-party requests coming up again. Before they do come up, I'd just like to maybe at the next meeting take a look at what we didn't pay out and have a little discussion as to whether we should go forward and make ourselves whole with them as well.
Yep, I don't have any problems with that. We can put that together.
We furloughed some employees back then too, right? And then we took the raises away from all the employees.
Yep.
And we haven't paid those back, and I just have a problem not making our employees whole before we make all the outside organizations whole.
Most of the employees ended up getting pay increases on January 1st this year. Remember, we kicked them down the road 6 months.
Right.
But we had some of the higher paid employees, we held them out. And, but we ended up giving back the 2% COLA that we originally had made plans for. But there are a handful of employees that didn't get pay increases this last year because of this.
But none of them got their COLA increase from July till January, did they?
No, they got remember we met, I think it was in August. And we changed that around, and we gave everybody the 2% COLA.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what I guess I was just, so we can review all those things together to see where we should be.
David?
I think the point of order is that if this is a contractual thing that we have with them, we need to go good on our
I
contract.
completely agree.
Me too.
And it was a generosity thing with Central Maine Growth Council.
They didn't even give us that.
They didn't have to do that. Right.
As you said, it's a contract. We signed a contract, even if we just shook the hand. It's a deal's a deal, we're done.
Okay. I need a
Need to
motion.
vote on it. Mr. Bob, you're not saying much tonight?
I move we authorize the remaining part of the contracted dues.
Second by Don, all in favor?
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, folks, for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you for your generosity in trying to help.
Yeah,
We didn't know at that time.
look forward to our shared work together.
We'll get that check in the mail next week.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Next is the vote accepting 2 grants awarded to fire department.
Chief Coughlin, up to his MO here, he applied for 2 grants and ended up getting them. Forestry grant for $595 to assist with the portable pump purchase and some PPE. Walmart community grant for $4,000. I need a motion and a vote to accept those.
I make a motion, we accept those grants.
Seconded by David, all in favor?
Perfect. And I actually have, Dave is going to discuss another grant opportunity with the council.
Chief Coughlin asked me to bring to the folks the FEMA Assistance to Firefighters Grant. He's put in for that several times in the past. I think that's how we got our ladder truck. He's looking for us to not actually accept the grant, but to go forward with the progress of the application. It's a 3-part application. One is for a regional communications grant, which is a 10% match, which would be $24.43. The second part is to replace non-NFPA compliant firefighter gear, which is a 5% match, which would be about $2,000. And the third is replacement of our current tanker, which is a 1993, 28 years old. That would be a 5% grant, and it's $18,000 to $20,000. So you're looking at about $30,000 that we would have to come up with ahead of time that has to be non-committed funds. So
Do you have a time frame on when this is going to be awarded, Dave? If we were awarded the grant, when would that happen?
the deadline for application is February 12th. I know that they're forming awarding parties now for March. So it could be June.
Okay.
July, so it's some time out.
Okay. Kelly, do we have that kind of money in our capital improvement?
Well, we just bought the fire truck.
Right.
There's
But we have
300.
we have another capital improvement, a capital purchase fund with $275,000 in it, correct?
Correct.
That's something that we can use if we,
Correct.
you know, we can swing that financially.
I'd make a motion, we authorize the town manager and the fire chief to go for these grants and see how we do it. A few years ago, we had a discussion about this, and we decided that any grant that had to have a matching money, that they should come to the council with it before they go out to try to get the grant. I think that's why the chief is doing this ahead of time, because it's,
Yeah.
we wanted to know how much we might be setting ourselves up for
Right.
match, so.
And if we get lucky enough to get the third leg of this, replacement of ladder truck 5, I mean, that's a $400,000 piece of equipment that we're going to be saving the taxpayers on. That's huge.
Yeah, but we usually replace them in 30 years, and if it's 28 years old, it's time for us to be looking
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah. Thanks, Dave.
Motion made, seconded by Bob, all in favor? Next thing on the agenda is Spirit of America Award.
Okay, I've got a sheet in front of you, and I've got 3 recommendations that came in through 2 of the counselors. And what I'd like to do is just take a week for you to think of anybody else, and then we're going to make a vote on it at the next meeting. So that's what's been recommended at this point in time. And if somebody has somebody else, I mean, we haven't had a lot of volunteers this year, and one of the councilors had a couple of real good ideas, and one of our other councilors had a thought on one of our town employees. So if anybody would like to add to that, please do. I'll be reaching out to you at some point before the next council meeting, and we'll make a vote on it at our next one.
I have a question for Jan. Who runs the food pantry now? Who's the lady in charge of that?
Yeah. Sandy Schwartz is gone, you know, for the winter, but she still does all the correspondence, but Mrs. Ponitz is very much involved in Clara, and
Oh, okay.
so is Mr. and Mrs. Borman.
And the person who recommended that was looking at the entire group,
Yeah.
you know, because they've really had a tough year this year, and they
Yeah.
really stepped up to the plate, handled a lot of product and stuff. And it's just like on the turkey dinner at the school. It would be the group of people who are responsible for that, so.
Both good choices.
Is there a criteria listed someplace for that?
Really not. I mean, it's, you know, I personally, I'm not a fan of town employees because that's our job, but I can understand where some of the stuff comes from. So I like to look at what's happening in, you know, the community, people who are not getting paid to help out their community. I think that's the important piece that we need to look at.
The organization's goal is to promote volunteerism, so it's anybody that volunteers. So
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate that. I actually have one more item on this, Mr. Chairman. I sent out an email to everybody. I talked with Alan May today on this piece of property that's down here on Fairfield Street. I'm sure that some of you have seen that. And he had lost my cell phone number, and that's why he wasn't able to get back in touch with me. But he's interested in selling this to the town of Oakland. And it's the parcel that's actually sits right across the road from Kelly's house. And there's 26 acres up in there. We talked price, and he wants substantially less than the $100,000 asking price, and I think that there's some wiggle room in there as well. I think that the town of Oakland would be foolish not to look at this purchase. We've got land that we're selling, we've got money in the bank that's set aside for projects like this. This has the potential for having sports fields out there, a walking track, you know, something that we can go up in there, because the places to walk, to be outdoors in Oakland, it's 2 places. You've got the high school, and then you've got this over here. And this is too much for some of the seniors. I mean, there's a lot of off-campus stuff. And I think that we can make snowshoe trails up there. I think that there's just so much opportunity. It's a place for Oak Fest, that we would have a permanent home without having to use the school property, with plenty of parking. I think we really need to consider this. I think it's an opportunity, and if we pass this up, that piece of land has more value to the taxpayers in Oakland than the piece of land that's worth $500,000 up on the drop on. I mean, that's where the value is on this. And, you know, it's close to town. So I would really be excited if I could get some support behind from the council to look at this.
I think it's going to be very hard in the town of Oakland as the town grows in 10, 15, 20 years, whatever, you know, to find any open space where we can add additional recreation facilities and ball fields. So I'd make a motion that we authorize you to negotiate on that piece of property and see what you can do.
I would love to do that.
We have money that we put aside for future property
Yes, we do.
purchases,
And we got 2 big parcels that we're going to be
and
selling.
we got more coming in, right?
Yeah.
Garrett, is that the land right next to the winery? Like there's an open field?
Right behind it.
Yes.
There's 26 acres back there. One other point I want to bring up on that too is the state of Maine has allowed that rail-to-trail system that's on that line that runs to Madison. Well, that borders that, so that would allow us to have a parking lot that accesses that trail up on the second field. And the tracks have been pulled from Oakland to Madison, and next summer, they're going up there and they're gonna remove the tracks all the way up to Bingham. So, we got a call from Matthew Seifel, wanting to know where they, because this is something that they're looking at for their business, because they wanna offer bicycle trips up there. And, so there's another asset to that piece of land that we should be looking at.
Bob?
So where are we on the piece of property on the town farm road? Are we looking at
Yeah,
opportunities?
I haven't gotten my estimates back from the real estate broker. And it's in his ballpark. He was supposed to find out which way would be the best way to go for us. I personally am leaning towards just selling it one chunk, but we'll wait and see, because I did talk with him, and, you know, putting the roads in and all the stuff on it, I don't know if that's gonna be something that we're gonna have the capability of doing without hiring somebody to do it. But my goal is to put both that property and the property on Willie Point up for sale in the spring, when stuff starts to sell. I wasn't gonna do it this winter anyways.
I'm in favor